Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to TMRP, the Metropolis Radio Podcast. Now, this week, we have yet another packed show for you guys. However, the difference is that this week, we have more TV news than movie news. So, without further dilly-dallying, let's just get right into our first main topic. And we're just going to get right to the movie news at first. And that, in the movie news this week, is the Fast and Furious franchise is going to end with the 11th movie in the franchise. Now, Justin Lin, who directed Fast and Furious 4 that came out in 2009, Fast 5, and Fast and Furious 6, is set to direct the last two installments. He also directed the latest installment, that was F9, and that got delayed from 2020 to 2021 due to COVID, and it's not the first Fast and Furious movie to get delayed either. I think Fast and Furious 7 was originally supposed to come out in 2014, but then obviously, as we all know, Paul Walker passed away while filming the movie, so they delayed, so they ceased production and delayed it, and came back, I think it was 9 months later, and the movie released in 2015, because they were trying to see, like, you know, how can we shoot around the fact that, you know, Paul Walker is no longer with us. And, you know, here's my whole rant on the Fast and Furious franchise. Fate of the Furious, that was the 8th movie, was supposed to kickstart the final trilogy that was going to end with number 10. And the original plan was to have the series end with the 10th movie, because the marketing campaign, so Fast and Furious 9 was supposed to come out in 2020, and then Fast and Furious 10 was supposed to come out 2021, with the marketing being 20 years, 10 movies, given that the first movie released all the way back in 2001. Now, obviously, these movies do better over in China. If you look at the box office total for Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw, it didn't make jack fucking shit over here in North America, but it made a fuck ton of money over in China. You know, and hence why Fast and Furious 9 got delayed to 2021. Fast and Furious at this point is not made with the US box office in mind. It's made for China. Personally, I am a fan of the first movie, the original Fast and Furious. Too Fast, Too Furious is okay, but it's rather slow in some spots. And I believe that Tokyo Drift is really an underrated gem. And I don't give a shit what your personal opinion on Tokyo Drift is, but one thing you have to agree with me on, that was the last Fast and Furious movie to ever be focused around street racing. Nowadays, you know, you had Fast and Furious 4 was Dominic Toretto and Brian O'Connor taking down the Mexican drug cartel. Fast 5 was robbing the bank from the rich guy. I don't even remember the plot for Fast and Furious 6, if I'm being 100% honest. I just remember them, you know, going at the very end of the movie trying to take down a plane because apparently their cars can go 500 miles an hour and the runway was 1,000 miles long. Personally, this series really just went to hell in a handbasket after Fast and Furious 4, and honestly, it should have ended with the 7th movie in the death of Paul Walker, because Fate of the Furious really wasn't that good. But you know what? China money, so whatever, to each their own. You know, personally, I wanted Vin Diesel to be done with this series after movie number 10. That way he can go back to doing Riddick. Because if you remember, this was back in 2010, 2011, he bought the rights back to Riddick from Universal, and he's only ever made one movie with it, and that was 2013's Riddick. And I might do a standalone video on the Riddick series. I don't know. Pitch Black was okay. I actually like Chronicles of Riddick, and Riddick 2013 was kind of just meh, in my opinion. But before I tangent for too long, because that's what I do here, let's just get right into the bulk of the news. Now let's get into our first major piece of TV news. And our first major piece of TV news is Netflix canceled yet another show. Raise your hand if anyone is shocked. Yeah, I assume none of you were shocked. The series that they canceled was Away, the series with Hilary Swank. Now, as of the recording of this, as of right now, there is no official reason given for the cancellation. It was just up and canceled. And this comes just 6 weeks after the show premiered on Netflix. The show premiered on September 4th, if I remember correctly. Yes, I am subscribed to Netflix. I meant to watch the show, but I'm probably not going to watch it now, given that there's not going to be a second season. And Hilary Swank herself reacted on Instagram with, quote, "Wish we were showing you Mars." Now, like I said, I haven't watched the show yet, but for those who did, please let me know in the comments what that refers to. Again, I might not see the show now, given, you know, what they built to, and now there's going to be no season 2, so what's the point for me? Now, obviously, this comes after Netflix canceled, you know, The Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance, and Glow. Now, with The Dark Crystal, they cited the fact that, oh, the show was too expensive, and with Glow, it was, well, we don't know when production's going to resume. Now, and it's not like this show didn't have an audience to begin with. According to the Nielsen streaming ratings, they claim that Netflix users watched more than 2.7 billion minutes of the show. And yes, that is billion with a B. And this show was ranked in Netflix's top 10 for most of September, even peaking at number 1 for a couple of weeks. And this really leads to a point that I made on the All New Mega Podtastic podcast a couple weeks ago, when I said that releasing all episodes at once at this point is just a terrible, terrible idea. And I think it's actually becoming more and more anti-consumer, because releasing all of your episodes at once guarantees that people will talk about the show for a week, but then those same people are going to shut the fuck up as soon as another show comes out. You know, versus a show like The Mandalorian, where that show came out weekly. I remember nobody could shut the fuck up after that pilot premiered, and oh my god, Baby Yoda's in the end. Or look at, you know, like Star Trek Lower Decks, Star Trek Discovery, all shows that are releasing weekly that people are still talking about. Yet with Away, it wouldn't surprise me if after a week or two, everybody who watched the show just moved on with their lives, because why not? You know, okay, all 10 episodes are done. Well, fuck, what else is on? Insert Netflix show here. I don't watch Netflix originals. I think most of them are crap to begin with. So, yeah, so another Netflix cancellation, which shouldn't shock anybody. And let's move on to some happy news for some people, but some sad news for other people. And that is Star Trek Discovery got renewed for a 4th season. Now, this news hit a day after Season 3 launched on CBS All Access, and I know it might be rebranded to Paramount Plus in 2021, but who gives a fuck about that right now? A production date has been set for November 2nd, 2020, and Kurtzman apparently has a roadmap for the Star Trek franchise that goes into 2027. You know, I equate that to, you know, anybody with a 5-year plan will tell you that the 5-year plan never comes to fruition. So I think Kurtzman is thinking a little too far ahead down the line. That's like a chess player claiming that, oh, I'm thinking 15 moves ahead. You know, if you think that many moves ahead, your opponent's going to come in and kick your ass, because now you're not in the moment. You're so far into the future. Now, I have a message for those who don't like Discovery and want it canceled. Simply put it, CBS wouldn't greenlight a 4th season if the show wasn't successful for them. And keep in mind, a view is a view no matter who the fuck watches it. It doesn't matter if you're watching the show going, oh, I have to watch how they're going to ruin Star Trek this week. Oh my fucking god, did you just see that? That completely goes against canon? Because in the original series, in Season 2, Episode 13, blobbity, blobbity, blah, 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 all that bullshit, they're going to keep producing the show irregardless if you hate it or not, because you keep watching it. And, you know, and I'm going to bring up this point. Hate watching anything makes no goddamn sense to me. In fact, a very famous radio DJ, Howard Stern, in the 90s, I don't remember, I think he was on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno at the time, and he admitted on Jay Leno that he stated that at least 50% of his listeners listen to him because they absolutely hate him, and they're just waiting for him to fuck up so that they could go and run to his sponsors and get him, quote-unquote, canceled. And this was back in the 90s. Did Howard Stern ever go off the air? Well, no, because he's on Sirius XM now. So he doesn't give a fuck about all the people who hate listen to him. They're making him money, like all these people that are hate watching, you know, Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Picard, Star Trek Lower Decks. And Will Wheaton, a couple weeks ago, basically told, like, old Star Trek fans to move on if you don't like the new stuff. Now, he had the right idea, but he just had the wrong approach to it. Basically, if you're going to keep watching this and you keep going, well, this is absolute fucking dog shit, me, they're going to keep producing it because you keep watching it. We are in a quote-unquote capitalist country. If everybody tomorrow just stopped watching Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Picard, and Star Trek Lower Decks, CBS would stop producing it because it's not making them money anymore. So, pretty much, that's why I said that this is going to be some good news for people, because I know some people are fans of, Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Picard, and all that, and others aren't. So I'll repeat Will Wheaton. If you don't like Star Trek Discovery, or Star Trek Picard, or Star Trek Lower Decks, then simply don't fucking watch it. If enough people took that mantra, CBS would cancel those shows tomorrow and do the course correction that all these people want. This is all these people have to do, but they don't want to because they just want to create all this rage bait with, this is how Alex Kurtzman fucked up Star Trek this week. And whatever. Before I go off on a 20-minute tirade on these people, I'm going to move on to some happier news for most people, and that is Showtime is bringing back Dexter in a limited series. Now I know that this is older news, but this news came out last week, like a day after I had recorded last week's TMRP. And like I said, this is going to be a limited series that is going to consist of 10 episodes. For those that don't know, the series started in 2006 and ran until 2013, consisting of 8 seasons and a polarizing series finale with making Dexter a lumberjack for some reason. It is one of the most mocked series finales of all time. It's up there with, How I Met Your Mother and how Ted, hooked up with Robin. Oh, whoops, should I have said spoiler alert? Too late. I'm not going to edit it out. The How I Met Your Mother ended like 6 years ago, so who the fuck cares? Clyde Phillips, the showrunner for the first 4 seasons, is returning to do this limited series, and Michael C. Hall is set to return as the titular character of Dexter Morgan. Gary Levine, Showtime's co-president of entertainment, said, quote, Dexter is such a special series, both for its millions of fans and for Showtime, as this breakthrough show helped put our network on the map many years ago. We would only revisit this unique character if we could find a creative take that was truly worth of the brilliant original series. Well, I am happy to report that Clyde Phillips and Michael C. Hall have found it, and we can't wait to shoot it and show it to the world. Now, there is a production. Now, the production date is set to start sometime in early 2021, with the series being released during the fall of 2021 release window. And I remember Showtime doing this with Twin Peaks just a few years ago, back in 2017. The Twin Peaks limited series, when they brought back David Lynch to basically, finish what he started. And it was a sequel series that took place 25 years later after the original Twin Peaks. Now that series, Twin Peaks: The Return, had a total of 18 episodes, and that's just because it's Twin Peaks. But I think 10 episodes for a Dexter limited series is going to be a good thing. Basically, right the wrong of that series finale and truly return it to form. I think that this limited series, based on if the showrunner plays his cards right, can retroactively make season 8 and that series finale a lot better. But again, like I say, I'm not the type of guy to hype something up or the type of guy to tell you what to watch and what not to watch. So you're just going to have to wait and see for that one. Sorry guys, I'm about to make a really rough transition here, but I also thought of another really good example of another finale that retroactively made the show better, and that was the Netflix original movie El Camino, starring Aaron Paul and Robert Forster. If you remember, that served as the series epilogue to the show Breaking Bad. If you remember how that ended, Jesse Pinkman, took off in an El Camino. We have no idea what happened to him, and we have no idea if Walter White, lives or dies. Well, in El Camino, it doesn't really matter if Walter White lives or dies, but what is shown is how, Jesse Pinkman basically, got out and now has, started a new life. So, and I remember that being quite a bit of controversy with, did Walter White die? Did he survive? Well, El Camino pretty much rendered that completely useless now that you actually now gave Jesse Pinkman a nice close wrapped up in a nice little bow by, shipping him up to, I think it was Alaska, and having him, basically, work in construction. Is that okay? So now at least Jesse Pinkman moved on, even if Walter White died and would never pay for his crimes. Because Jesse Pinkman really wasn't that bad of a character. He was actually the most popular character on the show, and a lot of people started hating Walter White by the very end. That one I do remember. I was one of those people. But yeah, sorry for the rough transition, guys, but, as I was editing this, I just thought of another great example, other than the Twin Peaks series, which was the, El Camino movie. I think it was originally supposed to go to theaters, but then Sony decided to sell it to Netflix because that's where Breaking Bad got insanely popular to begin with. And if that movie had released in theaters, I think a lot of people would have been disappointed with it, given that it was basically an epilogue to Breaking Bad. But yeah, guys, so let's get right into the next main topic for the week. The next news item on the docket is finally the long-awaited Willow sequel is coming to Disney Plus, but it's not going to be a movie, it's going to be a series. Now, this is the same movie that Lucasfilm at one time would have liked you to forget, because it didn't really do well when it originally released in '87, and I did pull it up somewhere here. Here it is. So, Willow was made on a budget of $35 million, and it only grossed at the time $57,269,863. So, it didn't even make its production budget back in the theaters. But as of right now, Warwick Davis, who played Willow Ufgood in the original movie, is confirmed to return to the role. And John M. Chu, the director of Crazy Rich Asians and G.I. Joe Retaliation, is set to direct the first episode and executive produce the series. The showrunners for the series are going to be Jonathan Kasdan, obviously of Star Wars fame, and Wendy Mericle, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that name incorrectly. She was a writer for Arrow and was a showrunner at one point for the 4th season. And Ron Howard, who directed the original movie, is set to executive produce the series. And Warwick Davis said about the sequel series, quote, "So many fans have asked me over the years if Willow will make a return, and now I'm thrilled to tell you that he will indeed. Many have told me they grew up with Willow and that the film has influenced how they view heroism in our world. If Willow Ufgood can represent the heroic potential in all of us, then he is a character I am extremely honored to reprise." Now, Ron Howard said in the same article, quote, "It's creatively exciting to not only revisit the world and characters first conceived by George Lucas, Bob Dolman, and myself, but to see it take flight in such fresh, fun, and cinematic ways through the imagination of John Kasdan and Team Willow. This isn't a nostalgic throwback, it's a creative lean forward, and it's a blast to be a part of all of it." Now, personally, when Lord and Miller were fired from Solo, they were fired from directing Solo like 2 weeks before filming was supposed to wrap, and Ron Howard came in, I always felt that Ron Howard only accepted the job because people at Lucasfilm promised him that, hey, if you do this for us, we'll look into doing a Willow sequel for you, because it's been known for years that Ron Howard has wanted to do a sequel to Willow, and even going back to May of 2019, when Disney Plus was announced, Ron Howard was really campaigning not for a movie but for a sequel series to come out. So for me, seeing Willow get a sequel is not surprising, given that, yeah, it didn't do well at the box office at the time, but it has since gained a cult following. It got like a limited DVD release back in 2000, 2001, and then was released to Blu-ray in like 2008, 2007. And I remember at one point the DVD was going for about $60 to $70, depending on the condition. The Blu-ray was about $120, $130. And a really funny story. This was about, I want to say about 2 years ago. This is before Disney Lucasfilm re-released Willow to DVD and Blu-ray. It's now worthless. I was in a Goodwill, not finding jack shit as always. And I was about to leave, and I knocked the DVD to the floor, and I'm like, ah, crap. So I picked it up, and I looked at the back. I'm like, what the hell is even this? And I turn it around, and it's Willow on DVD. And this was at a time when, like I said, this was still going for like $60, $70 on DVD, depending on the condition. And I only paid $3 for it at the time, not knowing that just about 6 to 8 months later, it would be re-released to both DVD and Blu-ray. I always just found that to be a really funny story. But still, it's good to see that, we are getting a sequel series to Willow, knowing that, Lucasfilm is also sitting on this and hasn't really done jack shit with it since the late 80s. And in my opinion, before anyone asks me about Indiana Jones 5, I don't think that movie's ever happening, because at this point, Harrison Ford is getting too old and it's been pushed back so much that good luck. I think we're going to see a reboot of Indiana Jones before we see a Harrison Ford-led Indiana Jones 5. Now, the last bit of the show is going to cover nothing but The Mandalorian. So we are going to start with the first look that was released during Monday Night Football for Mandalorian Season 2. Now, this was only a minute long, and it was an extension of the first trailer that we got. And I'm really not one to speculate on what's shown, especially since, this season is going to release on October 30th. But from what I saw in the trailer, it looks like there is going to be a time jump between the first and second season, just given the fact that Carl Weathers' character looks a lot older and the fact that he's going more gray. Now, all I really have to say in this regard is wait to see the final product. Wait until Season 2 comes out. It debuts on Disney Plus on October 30th, 2020. I know I sound like I'm shilling for this, but like I said, I'm not one to speculate, especially with it being this close. If you really want to listen to some guy speculate for 15, 20 minutes on, oh my God, let's break down every single second in this 1 minute, extension of the trailer, be my guest. They're out there. And just to let everyone know, I do have a review of the first season of The Mandalorian dropping on October 30th, and yes, I'm doing that intentionally. And yes, I do intend on watching the second season every week and reviewing that as well. But before we tangent, let's get into the second piece of Mandalorian news, and that is The Mandalorian is now officially getting a Season 3. Disney has already greenlit the third season even before Season 2 premieres. And Jon Favreau has stated that filming should start sometime before the end of the year. And really, they're waiting for Pedro Pascal to be done. Pedro Pascal, the actor playing the Mandalorian, is currently over in Europe shooting a Nicolas Cage movie called The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. So, obviously, they need to wait for him to be freed up. And Jon Favreau has stated that they're operating under the assumption that they'll be able to move forward. Jon Favreau told Variety, quote, We're in very small situations, and oftentimes we have a lot of characters in masks, Favreau told Variety, referring not only to the title character, but the assortment of stormtroopers and intergalactic creatures that are brought to life via prosthetics or animatronic-enhanced masks. Quote, and we also have a lot of digital work that augments things. So we're a show that's probably well equipped to be flexible based on the protocols that are emerging surrounding work restarting, end quote. And that is pulled directly from Collider.com. And what I was going to say with regards to this, is that if you've ever watched that behind the scenes of making the first season of The Mandalorian, it's actually really cool how they did it. It's basically all shot on like a single soundstage with a bunch of like monitors that basically act like the background. It's not a green screen, and the background moves with the camera. And that technology is actually not new. It actually goes all the way back to the 50s when they used to project the backgrounds. And the ones I think of are like the old James Bond movies with Sean Connery as he's driving down the road. And it's very clear. You have like the exterior shot with the stunt driver in like the Swiss Alps. And then all of a sudden you get the close-up of Sean Connery in the car. And it's clearly a projection behind him. And you have to turn the wheel at the exact right moment in order for the projection to work. It was a real pain in the fucking ass. But nowadays with the digital technology and what they can now do with cameras, how the cameras can track the background, it looked really fucking cool. So as a result of that technology, not as many people really need to be on the set at any given time with, not only in terms of actors, but all the filming techniques that are used. I mean, it probably wouldn't surprise me if they operated on like such a skeleton crew of like 10 or 12 people and had a bunch of digital artists in the back, making, changes whenever Jon Favreau needed them. And the final piece of Mandalorian news is Jon Favreau himself has admitted that he is open to doing a Mandalorian movie. Now, an important note before I delve into this, there are no immediate plans to make a Mandalorian movie. So this is not speculation. Favreau told Variety, quote, "The line is blurring now. Things that you would have only seen in the movie theater, you're seeing on streaming, and I think it could go the other way as well." Pedro Pascal in the same article said, quote, "I think that the work is so beautiful that I would love for it to be held by a big screen experience, but it seems to work so well that also I'm not sure it's something that I would want corrupted by any kind of change, I mean, I certainly know that the challenge can be met. It's not like these people don't have the experience. If anybody can do it, they can." End quote. And in my personal opinion, this is a case of Jon Favreau basically pulling the cart before the horse. I would say focus on making the Mandalorian series really, really good before you even discuss the possibility of doing a movie. Because at this point, they're coasting off of the first season's success. And I'm going to kind of spoil a bit of my season 1 review. But I said that I think the Mandalorian season 1 benefited from the fact that, it was better than the sequel trilogy when it released. And that is true to a lot of people. But season 2 of The Mandalorian can't really rely on that. You have to take what was built in the first season and continue to build on that. So don't rush to make a Mandalorian movie. I think personally this is all just hype to get people excited for The Mandalorian, but focus on building a good show first and then have the movie come later. Don't pull the cart before the horse. And before I drag it on for too long, because I don't want to drag on a topic any longer than it needs to, I'm going to end the show right here. I know it was kind of a packed show, but it's a lot shorter than last week's show because it's more TV news than movie news. So we're going to end it right here. Where you can follow me, I have the blog, metropolisradio.blogspot.com. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @Metropolis. That is capital M, lowercase e, T, R, capital O, lowercase b, E-L-I-S-K. If you hate Twitter with a passion, I also have a Parler with the exact same handle. And as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the BitChute channel if you enjoy the content. It's a small click for you, but for a small channel like mine, it really helps out. Also, like, comment, and share only if you want to. You are never obligated to do so. And that is going to do it for TMRP this week, guys. So I will see you next time.